I never expected to find love in the mountains, but her whisper changed everything. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The sun hung low, casting long shadows over the jagged peaks. My heart raced as I stumbled through the underbrush, breathless and desperate. It felt like the mountains were alive, holding secrets I was too afraid to uncover. The chill in the air wrapped around me, biting at my skin, but it wasn't just the cold that sent shivers down my spine. It was her voice. Her whisper drifted through the trees, haunting and sweet, like a ghost teasing the edge of my consciousness. It drew me deeper, pulling me into the heart of the wilderness. I was no stranger to pain. I had come here to escape a broken heart, a lost friendship, a family torn apart. But as I navigated the tangled roots and twisted branches, I felt that familiar ache rise in my chest once more. It was more than her words. It was the way they danced through the air, shimmering like the last rays of sunlight. Every syllable was a promise. Every breath she took wrapped around my soul. I had to find her. She had to be real. Memories of my past flashed before me, moments soaked in tears and regret. My father's disappointed gaze, my mother's silence, friends who drifted away. I almost buried that pain under layers of hardened resolve. But in that moment, with her voice echoing in my mind, I felt hope crack through the surface that I caught glimpses of her as I moved. A fleeting shadow, ethereal and otherworldly. It was as if the mountains themselves were conspiring to keep her hidden. The path grew steeper, the air thinner, and yet I pushed on, driven by something greater than myself. I could hear my heartbeat reverberating in my ears, a primal rhythm urging me forward. The trees swayed, whispering secrets of their own, and I strained to listen. What were they saying? Just when I thought I would reach her, the ground beneath me gave way. I tumbled, gasping and losing my grip on the world. Panic gripped my throat like a vice. I clawed at the dirt, my fingers trembling, heart racing wildly. Then, in the chaos of my fall, a hand shot out, gripping my wrist. Her eyes sparkled with an intensity that stole my breath. I felt a rush of warmth envelop me, a comfort amid the turmoil. "You're okay," she whispered, but the urgency in her tone told another story. Shadows moved around us, ominous and uninvited. I could taste the fear on my tongue, but her presence was a lifeline. What danger lurked in the mountains? What did she know? Before I could ask, she pulled me close. "You can't trust everything you hear," she said softly, panic flickering behind her eyes. I blinked in confusion, drowning in the moment. Then everything went silent. The whispers stopped. The mountains paused, as if waiting for us to make our next move. That I needed to know more. Who was she? Why was she here? And what danger lurked beyond the trees? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The silence stretched between us, heavy with unspoken emotions and questions that twirled in the air. The mountains, once a refuge, now felt like a cage. Her hand held mine with an urgency that spoke volumes. It was both a lifeline and a warning. It soothed my panic but raised new fears. The world around us was slowly shifting, shadows darting in the corners of my vision, whispering truths I couldn't yet grasp. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice trembling as I struggled to find my footing. It felt awkwardly familiar, as if I had known her in another life. Yet I was acutely aware of her otherness, a thin veil draped over her that shimmered with mystery. Someone who understands. Her gaze drifted past me. "But time isn't on our side. We need to move." "Move where?" I felt lost, tangled in both my emotions and the wilderness. The beauty of this place had turned treacherous, each rustle and crack echoing with uncertainty. "What are we running from?" "Everything and nothing," she murmured, pulling me further into the depths of the trees. "But mostly from the whispers that should never have reached you." That I hesitated as a wave of uncertainty washed over me. The path ahead was dim, shadows weaving intricate patterns on the forest floor. I felt the weight of her words pressing down on my chest. It wasn't just my fear I was carrying, it was hers too. An unshakable instinct told me her life was interwoven with something darker than I could imagine. Taking a deep breath, I stepped forward, unsure yet compelled to follow her. Each step felt like a leap into the unknown, my heart pounding louder than the whispers that had led me here. What whispers? What do you mean? I pressed her again, hoping for a clearer answer. You have to tell me, trust me, she interrupted, turning her intense gaze toward me. I wanted you to find me, but there are forces at play that want to keep us apart. Her words hung heavily between us, laced with both urgency and a sadness that pierced through the fog of my confusion. We stumbled deeper into the underbrush, a tangled mess of roots and fallen leaves. In that moment, while fear clawed at my insides, a glimmer of hope flickered, the chance of understanding, the possibility of connection. If you wanted me to find you, that means I matter, I said, the thought warming my spirit against the cold that surrounded us. I've lost so much, and I thought I wouldn't matter again. You matter more than you know, she replied, squeezing my hand tighter as if my existence was a lifeline for both of us. The tension in her voice suggested we were being watched, hunted even. But we don't have time for that now. Shadows flitted past us, dark and ephemeral, and I felt my heart stutter again, a mix of adrenaline and uncertainty propelling me forward. The once inviting forest turned into a labyrinth, each path twisting and turning in ways I couldn't anticipate. I needed her to guide me, but I also needed to understand what lay behind her eyes. As we rounded a weathered oak tree, I suddenly heard the whispers again, this time clear and chilling. You've come too far. You must leave. They wove around us, desperate and disembodied, urging me to turn back. A chill crawled up my spine as I shuddered at their pleas. Don't listen, she shouted, and in her eyes, I saw fierce determination. They want to confuse you. But as much as I tried to block out the voices, a new one emerged, softer and almost tender, a familiar lull I once loved. It called to me, echoing with the warmth of forgotten memories. I could almost see her face in the shadows, hear her laughter mingled with the wind. Daniel, the voice crooned, and I froze, my blood running cold. I couldn't just dismiss it. It was like a tether binding my heart to a past I thought I'd left behind. What was happening? Who was this specter? Did she know what I'd done? Daniel, you have to fight. Her urgency pulled me back from the precipice of despair. Yet, the magnetic pull of that voice held me captive. It was more than just a whisper. It was an invocation, a beckoning to step back into familiarity rather than face the growing chasm of the unknown. Come to me, it continued, soft as silk yet hard as stone, and I will make it all better. The ground beneath me shifted, a precarious balance between light and shadow, and with a rush of clarity, I understood. My heart was caught in a battle. I looked at the girl beside me, fear and longing warring within me, and a new dread poured over me. If I stepped closer to that voice, what parts of me would I lose in the process? Don't let go of my hand, I cried, seeking her warmth as the enticing summons continued to pull me, promising solace where there was none. The shadows seemed to coalesce around us, the danger closing in. In that moment, I realized that every choice held weight, every whisper built the walls between us. Trust me, she shouted again just as the echoes of my past grew louder. And as I turned my gaze between the fading hope of her eyes and the beckoning shadows, I felt the ground beneath me beginning to crumble. Something inside screamed for me to choose, but the choice was not merely mine. The clarity of my predicament blazed in my mind as I stood on the precipice of decision, knowing I could be lost to the shadows forever or step back into the light, but which would I choose? I was caught between the whispers of love and the unrelenting darkness whispering of everything I had left behind. The shadows enveloped us, a palpable darkness that seemed to seep into my very bones, paralyzing me with an unshakable fear. I could feel the tension in her grip, a lifeline caught between desperate hope and impending despair. Do you feel it? I murmured, my voice barely breaking the heavy silence as I wrestled with my thoughts. It's pulling me, guiding me back. Don't you dare look back, she said sharply, the fierce determination in her voice resonating like a war cry against the encroaching shadows. You can't let it take you. I scanned the dimly lit forest, the flickering memories tugging at the corners of my mind like a gentle breeze coaxing old leaves to fall. The familiarity of that haunting voice grew louder, richer, cradling me in warmth and nostalgia. But what if it's her? My voice betrayed me as I fought against the pull, the name tumbling from my lips like a desperate prayer. Focus, Daniel. She snapped, her eyes boring into mine with a fierce intensity that anchored me amidst the chaos. You have to choose between the past that will chain you or the future that could set you free. You're stronger than you believe. Her courage sparked something within me, igniting a counterforce against the seductive whispers that promised refuge. I thought of the emptiness I had felt after losing everything, the void that had defined my days, and the fear that if I moved closer to the voice, I'd bring back not just memories, but the pain that accompanied them. I can't lose her again, I breathed, the heartbreak surfacing at the thought. You won't lose anything if you let it go, she replied, her tone softer now, tempered by understanding. You'll only lose the part of yourself that's tied to those shadows. Let it fade into the dark. Don't let it in that moment. I felt a flicker of clarity spark within, a fragile flame amidst a tempest of emotions. You're right, I said resolutely, squeezing her hand tighter. I can't go back. I won't be trapped in those memories any longer. Yet the shadows writhed, the chill growing deeper, and just when I thought I had found my resolve, the familiar voice called out again, weaving through the chaos like a siren song. Daniel, I need you, please. The tone shifted, a hint of desperation lacing the edges, a reminder of promises broken, trust shattered. Just hold on a little longer, she urged, more than a reminder. This was an anchor tethering me to the present where hope still flickered. I glanced at her, the strength in her face a quiet rebellion against the darkness. But then a new stitch of fear began to unravel the courage I had woven. The fabric of my newfound resolve felt thin as the whisper transformed, laced with urgency that clawed at my conscience. I won't leave you, it insisted, each note curling around me like vines aiming to suffocate. You were meant to be with me. We belong together. The forest shuddered as the echoes crescendoed, reverberating with unsaid things that painted the air in regret and longing. I could feel the weight of everything I had lost crashing over me like a tidal wave, threatening to pull me under. How could I possibly turn away? Was this a chance to right the wrongs, to find closure? Daniel, she cried, her voice melodious yet strict. Fight it. You have to make a stand. In the depths of my turmoil, the spark of hope she offered glowed fiercely, a reminder that even amidst the hollowness, there was still a chance to feel alive. I fought against the shadows, forcing myself to look into her eyes, allowing the connection we'd forged in this whirlwind of chaos to hold me steady. You matter so much more than your past, she whispered, as if catching my wavering gaze could light the path forward. I promise you, together, we can face anything. And just as I turned to face her fully, the shadows around us twisted violently, taking form, a darkness that dripped with hunger. A figure emerged, silhouette sharp against the backdrop of the woods, but before I could comprehend, a voice boomed for the haunting echo that shattered the stillness. Daniel, go. My past cried out, breaking through the ghosts that sought to ensnare me. Yet, what had felt like liberation now bore the weight of betrayal as I recognized the face etched within the darkness. It was Hermie past, entwined with secrets I had wished to bury. The shadows converged in a blinding whirl, a tug-of-war of identities both known and yet unrealized. What do you want from me? I shouted, my heart racing as realization crashed down like an avalanche. The figure responded, voice echoing with depth and sorrow. To show you what you lost, but what you can still reclaim. And just as their words seared into my reality, I turned back to the girl at my side, uncertainty clawing at the edges of my heart. I was already drowning in a pool of memories and choices, but now a new storm threatened me, a dual ultimatum. As the shadows rippled and the figure became ever clearer, draped in familiarity that filled the air with despair, I stood caught between my heart's hope and the haunting specter of irrevocable loss. Would I risk everything to confront my past, or would I choose a future still cloaked in shadows? With my heart racing and the ground beneath trembling, I knew that an answer was looming ever closer, yet somehow, it felt as though the real quake was just beginning. The terrain became a battlefield, the shadows swirling like a tempest around us, their tendrils reaching out as if trying to pull me back into an abyss that felt all too familiar. My heart drummed a frantic rhythm against my ribcage as I wrestled with my choices. I could almost hear her laughter echo in the corners of my mind, dancing just out of reach, each note a reminder of what once was. Daniel. The girl's voice sliced through the haze of my thoughts. We have to move. If it knows our fear, it will use it against us. Don't let it trap you here. I tore my gaze away from the past, from the figures standing resolutely within the dark, and focused on Hermie anchor in this storm. The glimmer of her eyes told me she understood the gravity of the battle raging within me. Feeling the warmth of her hand in mine, I sought solace in this connection, reminding myself that she was the present, a reality where hope lingered, but the shadows loomed larger, closing in like a predator circling its prey. With each moment that passed, I felt the spectral figure of my past beckoning me, urging me to remember the love, the joy, the warmth we once shared. I could not deny the urge to reach out, to sink back into those memories, even as I felt her fingers tighten around mine, as if she were pleading for me to choose otherwise. Daniel, listen to me, she pleaded, urgency lacing her words. We have a chance to escape together. Don't let yourself get lost in what's gone. Let's create something new, right here, right now. Torn between the whispers of the past and the fierce heartbeat of the present, I swallowed hard, grappling with the swirling remnants of my memories that sought to pull me under. Each moment replayed in vivid clarity, laughter around a campfire, warmth on chilly nights under the stars, promises made under the cotton clouds. Yet, with each tender recollection came the sharp sting of abandonment, of loss that had carved a chasm in my heart. Daniel, the figure's voice echoed, resonating with a sorrowful undertone. Can you hear how much I still need you? We can mend what was broken. You can come home. A stone sank in my gut. Home, such a loaded word. I had spent too long trying to escape the very idea of it. And yet I now found myself teetering at the edge of a precipice, yearning for something I had lost, while desperately trying to preserve what I could still hold on to. Don't you want to feel whole again? The shadow offered. It stepped closer, the contours of its form becoming more defined within the darkness, revealing the familiar visage I had fought to forget. The girl beside me took a step forward, as if to shield me. An outpouring of support radiated from her determined stance as she raised her chin defiantly. You don't need that illusion to feel complete, Daniel. What you've lost shaped you, but it doesn't define you. You have the power to write your own story. As her words wrapped around me, I felt a flicker of courage begin to surge against the weight of the despair. If there was one thing I had learned throughout this tumultuous journey, it was the power of choice, a choice to live in the present, to fight for a future unfettered by the chains of the past. Point 2, can't leave her. I managed to call out, the fear gripping my heart, squeezing it painfully. But just as I spoke those words, the shadow lunged forward, rage and sorrow both etched upon its features. You're choosing the unknown over me, over the love we shared? The voice cracked, aching with a pain that shadowed everything we had once known. Enough, I shouted, fearlessness igniting within me. You're not my past. You're a fragment of it, and it's time to let it go. In that moment, everything changed. The shadows recoiled, the forest trembled, and the darkness warred against the light beginning to pierce through. A shimmer radiated from the girl beside me, illuminating the path ahead, casting a tentative glow in the midst of despair. Believe in us, she cried, her voice breaking through the haze with undeniable power. We can face this together, stronger than before. The visage of my past flickered, momentarily, hesitating as if caught in the balance between despair and hope. I turned to the girl, my heart swelling with gratitude and newfound strength, realizing that she had become the embodiment of all I had strived to find. It was then, amidst the swirling shadows, that a new surge of determination coursed through me. I took a deep breath, drawing from the very essence of the love I felt for the girl at my side. You were my past, but I choose this moment, this future. But before I could process the intensity of this revelation, a deafening roar echoed through the forest, resonating deep within my bones. The ground shook violently as the shadows contorted into a vortex, twisting violently around us, threatening to absorb everything I held dear. In that blinding moment, Clarity pierced through the chaos, a choice laid bare before me that could tip the balance once and for all. The specter of loss remained, still reaching, while I felt the girl's presence beside me solidify like steel, a fierce bond that could withstand the storm. And just as I stepped firmly into the light, daring to envision a future grounded in purpose, I felt something shift. The shadows writhed, awakening a truth I had locked away, a forgotten memory that clawed its way to the surface, desperately demanding attention. Suddenly, the world around us grew quiet, and amidst the chaos, a single, chilling whisper broke through the silence. "You're not ready for what's to come. You don't know everything about her." And with those words echoing in the depths of my mind, darkness clung to my heart, reminding me that hope, no matter how bright, could only shine so far against the backdrop of painful revelations looming just beyond the horizon. The silence hung heavy, thick with uncertainty, as I struggled to grasp the meaning behind the ominous whisper that echoed through the air. My heart raced. Was it truly a voice from the shadows, or simply a fear born from my own trepidation? The girl beside me, her hand still gripping mine tightly, seemed oblivious to the chilling words that had penetrated my thoughts. I could feel the warmth of her presence, a stark contrast to the encroaching darkness, yet doubt began to pulse like a second heartbeat within me. "Daniel," she said softly, her voice steady as she searched my eyes for answers. "What's happening?" I hesitated, torn between the desire to protect her and the haunting fear of what I had yet to uncover. In that moment, fragments of memories wrestled for space in my mind, each whispering warnings, unearthing secrets that I had buried deep in the recesses of my heart. "It's nothing," I finally managed to say, although the words tasted like ash. Just something I'll handle," she echoed, confusion etched across her features. "This isn't just about you. Whatever is happening, we face it together, remember?" She was right. With every passing heartbeat, the shadows swirled ominously, breathing uncertainty into the air. The figure of my past was still lingering, its form shifting like mist. I knew I couldn't afford to be selfish, to let my unresolved feelings stand in the way of our survival. But paranoia clung to me like cobwebs. I began to wonder what secrets those shadows harbored, secrets about her, about USD. "Oh, you ever feel like there's something I'm not telling you?" I asked, the question seeping out before I could hold it back. "Something that might change everything between us?" Her brows arched in surprise, but her resolve didn't waver. "We all have things we carry, Daniel. Shadows we never wanted to confront. I can't pretend to understand your pain, but I do know that we build connections not just on truth, but also on trust." Trust. The word hung in the air like a lifeline, one that I desperately wanted to grasp, yet I felt like a marionette caught in a web of my own making, strings tangled in the past. As I looked into her bright eyes, so full of hope, I realized I had to face the shadows, to confront whatever it was that loomed within the depths of the unknown. But my gaze strayed once again towards the darkness, where a form danced at the edge of my vision. The spectral figure stood, arms outstretched as if inviting me back into its embrace. "Do you not crave the truth of your heart?" it whispered, its voice laced with the sweet ache of nostalgia. "You were never meant to be alone. Let me show you." I took a step back, feeling the girl's grip squeeze mine tighter, as if sensing my spiraling thoughts. "No, I won't fall for your tricks again," I declared, my voice trembling. "Not now, not when I have her. If you have something to say, then let it be clear." The shadows recoiled for a moment, and for the briefest instant, I glimpsed weakness in their swirling mass. But just as quickly, they surged forward, emboldened by the desperation echoing within me. In that moment of chaos, tendrils of darkness reached out, whispering secrets long forgotten, threatening to unravel the fragile threads holding my resolve together. "Daniel." The girl's voice pierced through, anchoring me as she stepped beside me, unwavering. "You can choose to face this or let it consume you. But remember, I'm here. They'll fight for you." Those words ignited a spark within, a beacon in the tempest. But the specter continued to loom larger, a cacophony of emotions swirling together, drawing me into a familiar place of fear and regret. "You don't know who she really is," it said, growing louder, the shadows pulsating with a life of their own. "And you'll never find peace until you know the truth." With that, I felt the foundations of my once steady heart quiver, uncertainty clawing at my gut. What truths lay hidden beneath the surface of our love? Could she possibly be something more than I understood? Panic fluttered a feral bird trapped in a cage, its wings desperate to escape. Daniel, don't listen, she shouted, projecting her fierce will against the creeping doubts. We can build a future. We can choose our truth, together. But the shadow's voices crescendoed, drowning her out with a relentless chant, me breath quickening as my mind formed an image of what I feared the most. Losing her to the hidden realities she kept buried. Daniel. The girl's voice sliced through once more, sharp and clear, igniting the fire I'd thought extinguished. Trust in me. Trust in us. I felt myself wavering, every instinct pulling towards the darkness, but still, she stood unwavering next to me. The shadows shrieked, and the very ground beneath our feet began to tremble violently. As the world threatened to fracture around us, I locked my eyes with hers, grounding myself in that moment of connection. But then, just as strength began to billow within me, I heard the whispered secrets unravel completely. You don't know your fate, Daniel. You both have a destiny intertwined in ways that would shatter everything you believed. It was a revelation laced with dread, a truth shrouded in the unknown. My heart plummeted into a chasm, disbelief mingling with terror. The shadows began to stretch, dark fingers grasping toward the girl as if hungry to claim the light she bore. Daniel, no? Her voice rose above the cacophony around us, but the shadows loomed closer, eager to ensnare her. As a chilling realization dawned, I turned to her, desperation flooding my veins. What do you know? Please, don't hide from me. But the darkness roared, threatening to engulf us both, drowning out her response. My heart thudded in my chest, fear gripping me as the chilling truth loomed ever closer. A fracture in the air that promised to reveal everything, just not in the way I had imagined. And as the shadows closed in, I felt everything slipping through my fingers like sand, the weight of fate pressing heavily on my shoulders. The scream left my lips, a sound raw and primal, as everything I cherished danced on the precipice of despair. Daniel. The girl screamed back, her voice cutting through the maelstrom of chaos. But what came next, the truth hidden within her heart? The unveiling of ancient bonds was a revelation I wasn't ready to face. And for the first time, hope twisted painfully into uncertainty, leaving me teetering at the edge of an abyss, where the shadows taunted with the burden of knowledge yet to be unveiled. The world around me twisted and swayed as the shadows loomed over, every pulse of dark energy reverberating with the weight of unspoken truths. My chest tightened, an iron vice squeezing the breath from my lungs. The girl beside me was like a flame amidst a storm, and yet, with every moment that passed, I felt the chill clawing between us, snatching at our connection. Daniel. She cried out again, her voice cutting through the noise like a knife, raw and desperate. Fight it. You have to believe in us. But how could I believe when the darkness was so insistent? As the specter shifted, it pulsed with memories I had tried to bury deep within the recesses of my heart. It whispered temptations of secrets long hidden, promises that shimmered like mirages, teasing me with the tangible essence of understanding. My mind raced. Was she playing a part in this torment? Or was there something greater lurking just beyond my grasp, something tied to her very existence that I was too blind to see? Daniel, listen to me, she urged, her grip tightening on my hand. The warmth of her skin was a contrasting balm against the cold, encroaching darkness. Whatever is trying to divide us, it cannot break our bond unless we allow it. You have to trust me. I turned toward her, the desperation pooling in my gut, begging for answers that I was too afraid to confront. But what if you've been hiding things from me? What if you know more than you're letting on? The words tore themselves from my lips, laden with hurt and fear. Enough. The shadows feed off your doubts. Her expression turned fierce as she held my gaze, determination brightening her eyes. You have to let go of your fears, Daniel. We've faced so much together. Don't let this ruin us. Before I could respond, tendrils of darkness surged forward, wrapping around my body with clammy insistence. I felt the chill seep into my bones, a betrayal of the warmth emanating from the girl beside me. The whispers crescendoed, each syllable a haunting echo of regret. You will never know love if you cannot confront the truth, the shadows hissed. With every passing second, the world felt like it was fracturing at the seams, Reality teetered on the brink of something unfathomable. I fought against the bindings of fear that constrained me, but their grip was relentless. My heart pounded, caught in a tempest of confusion and doubt, as images of a different time flickered through my consciousness, painful memories of loss entwined with fleeting moments of joy tied to the very love I now held in jeopardy. Daniel. Her plea pierced through the darkness, relentless and unwavering. Look at me. Don't let them take you. I believe in you and us. We are stronger than this. Her words ignited something deep within me, a flicker of resilience. I could feel the warmth of her spirit standing defiantly against the encroaching chill. Yet still, I hesitated, torn between the sanctuary of her presence and the shadows that threatened to reveal truths I was terrified of knowing. Just then, there was a sharp crack, as if the very fabric of reality was splintering. The shadows reeled, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I glimpsed a glimpse of the girl's true essence, radiant and unshackled. No. Find the truth in your heart, she commanded. There lies our escape. And in that moment, a memory sparked to life, one from long ago, a fleeting moment spent under a starlit sky, where we had shared our dreams, the electricity of possibility shimmering in the air. I remembered her laughter, the way it danced like fireflies in the summer breeze. But just as quickly as it brightened, the shadow whispered again, sowing seeds of doubt. You think that laughter will save you? She is entangled in your fate, but not in the way you desired. My heart clenched painfully as my thoughts spiraled, intertwined with the unspeakable truth that I could no longer ignore. What is it? I shouted into the cataclysm, my voice echoing against the malevolent tide that threatened to swallow us whole. What is it that you're hiding? Why can't I grasp the truth? The whispering shadows coiled closer, their dark tendrils moving like a malevolent serpent. But now I felt emboldened by the heat radiating from the girl. Tell me, I implored. What is the truth that binds us? Suddenly, the air grew still. I felt her hand squeeze mine fiercely, and in her eyes, I saw a maelstrom of emotion, a reflection of my own turmoil. Daniel, I can't. And then, in the midst of the swirling chaos, a crack of light emerged from the darkness, illuminating the space between us. It flickered to life, bold and insistent, casting shadows back momentarily. For a brief instant, the air shimmered with a tangible vibrance. Daniel, she murmured, her voice barely a whisper, trembling but firm. Something is coming, something I never meant to hide, but it's part of who I am. Time froze, tension thick as I could feel the weight of an enormous revelation lingering just beyond reach. An unseen thread tied us together, and the way she said my name had transformed into a delicate promise. What do you mean? I pressed, desperation clawing at my gut. Please don't hold back now. But before she could answer, darkness surged forward, a growl of fury echoing in response to our confrontation, attempting to reclaim the moment of clarity we had seized. The shadows snapped and shrieked, spreading outward like a desperate tide, drowning the light that had dared to punctuate the gloom. Daniel, she shouted, panic flooding her voice. No, the moment shattered as the shadows clawed and grasped, pulling us apart. But I lunged forward, intent on grasping the truth, her truth, before it slipped from my fingers forever. Wait, I shouted, my heart pounding violently against my chest. Don't let them take you from me. Tell me. The tension thinned, every heartbeat echoing the unity we shared. I will, she screamed back as darkness swirled, entwining us, but unable to sever the connection we had forged. And then, just as I felt the shadows closing around my heart, she offered the glimmer of hope hidden in the depths of her soul. Trust that what's to come is worth facing, but you must brace for the tempest. In that blinding surge of darkness and despair, I was cast adrift, the promise of her love illuminating the undulating gloom, a fragile thread clinging to hope. But the revelation of who she truly was remained a lethal unknown, one that could shatter everything we had built if exposed. The darkness enveloped us completely. I held onto her hand desperately, trembling at the edge of a chasm filled with the echoes of things I never wanted to know, while a chilling realization washed over me. What lay ahead could forever alter the course of our intertwined fates. The darkness thrashed around us with furious intent, a tempest of despair spilling forth from its depths. I could feel the pull of the shadows urging me toward emptiness, threatening to snuff out the fragile light that flickered between us. Her grip on my hand was steadfast, a lifeline in a storm of uncertainty, even as the malevolent whispers roared to drown out her voice. "Daniel, you have to remember the joy we've shared," she cried, and the urgency in her tone sent tremors of fear piercing through my resolve. "Every moment, every smile, they're still with us. You can still hold on to that." But as I scanned the chaotic tendrils of deepening night, those memories felt distant, like fading stars lost in a heavy cloud. I began to wonder if I'd ever truly understood the love she professed, or if I had only trailed the echoes of her laughter, mistaking them for the truth. "Oh, I even know you?" The question slipped from my lips, raw and aching. I recoiled as if from the impact of my own words. "What else is there, if I don't know the truth?" Her eyes widened, mirroring the vulnerability that surged in me. "Daniel," she urged, "you do know me. The love we share is real. Look inside yourself. Remember our promise under those stars." But even as she spoke, shimmering memories unraveled in my mind, yet they danced just beyond reach, taunting me with their elusive nature. With each heartbeat, the shadows deepened their clutch, a sinister force seeking to extinguish the hope she wielded like a shield. "That I wish I could believe," I whispered as tendrils of darkness began to creep between us, their icy fingers threatening to rend the bond we fought so hard to maintain. "But the more I try to believe, the stronger the doubts grow." "Then don't think," she shouted back, drowning out the lacerating whispers that sought to chain me in fear. "Feel. Trust in the connection we share without the burden of having to understand." There was a warmth in her voice that collided beautifully with the encroaching cold. I closed my eyes, desperately seeking the clarity layered beneath the chaos. At that moment, there was a flicker, an unassailable spark of the bond we shared, a bond rooted deeper than any shadow. Suddenly the shadows shrieked, churning like a maleficent storm, and with a violent crack, a ray of light sliced through the darkness, illuminating a dismal truth. A glimmering insight surged. Perhaps every shadow was born from the essence of the truths I had yet to confront. The very fears I feared might be the end of us. "Daniel," she breathed softly, and I felt the tug of her spirit at the edges of my heart, beckoning while the darkness writhed. "Listen to me." In her gaze, I saw not just desperation but an unwavering belief, a strength that pierced the shroud of uncertainty. And against my churning fear, hope began to bloom, a tender bud pushing through cracks in barren soil. "You're right," I murmured. "I won't let this darkness win. Even if I have to unravel my own fears, I will do it for us." The smile broke across her face, radiant and fierce, shining through the dark. "Yes, that's it. Hold on to that. With every truth you uncover, you will grow stronger." Just as I surrendered to her belief, the shadows surged, a formidable wall encroaching upon our moment. Fear gripped my heart once more, but I felt her pull beside me, stabilizing my resolve. Each moment we'd shared, the adventures, the late-night talks, the laughter flared to life, a vibrant tapestry woven through the threads of our connection. "My truth is tied to the mountains," she murmured urgently, her voice almost lost beneath the chaos. "You cannot begin to understand how deep it goes." But the darkness seemed to howl in protest, drowning out her words, and panic threaded through me. "What do you mean? How deep? What lies beneath?" Desperation crackled in the air. I ached to know, gripped by the weight of the unknown. "Daniel," she shouted, her voice steady in the storm. "You need to be brave. If you truly want to face this fear, you have to." But just as her words hung in the air like a fragile promise, the shadows lashed out fiercely, tearing me from her grasp with a harrowing howl. I fought to hold on, but the force was too great, ripping apart the very connection that pulsed between us. "Dan." Her voice was swallowed by the darkness, leaving me adrift in an ocean of shadows alone. Yet suddenly, as despair threatened to swallow me whole, a piercing truth ignited within, twisted with every longing and hope we had shared. I would face the tempest. But as the shadows pressed down upon me, a chilling thought clawed at my consciousness, a truth I had yet to uncover that might shatter everything I held dear. What if the darkness didn't only seek to divide us, but was the manifestation of a deeper bond, one more complex than love could encapsulate? As the shadows clawed closer, I braced for the revelation I began to fear. I could sense it rising within me, a secret so profound that its unveiling threatened to lay bare the very fabric of our connection. And in the lingering silence, I was left to confront that unknown, teetering on the edge of love and the abyss. The world around me swirled in an oppressive fog, each shadow a reminder of the chaos I had just traversed. I could still feel the fading warmth of her hand, the relentless urge of the darkness gripping at my heart, a strange paradox that held me captive, pulling me toward both despair and a tantalizing hope I wasn't ready to acknowledge. I stumbled through the murky veil, my throat dry and heavy with the weight of unsaid words. I had leaned so hard into the struggle against the shadows that I forgot to truly look within. Each throb of uncertainty echoed in the depths of my soul, competing with the flickering light of her faith. Trust in what you feel, Daniel, I repeated to myself, desperation clawing at my thoughts. With every step, memories resurfaced like tide pools fragments where her laughter intertwined with the rustle of leaves in the mountain breeze. I could almost hear her playful teasing, the way her joy had bled into every moment we shared. As I pressed forward, the shadows rippled around me, drawing closer, thicker than before, as if feeding off my aura of self-doubt. It was confusing. This wasn't simply a battle between light and dark. It felt as if I was wrestling with who I was, who she thought I could be. What if the missing truths weren't just about her, but about me? Suddenly, a faint glimmer caught my eye, a thin sliver of luminous energy trickling through the darkness. It beckoned to me like a star in the night sky, promising clarity. I approached it cautiously, feeling the pull of its warmth against the cold chill that enveloped me. As I reached out, it swirled, revealing shapes ingrained in the Shadowsa montage of our happiest moments. The thrum of nostalgia began to drown out the cries of the darkness, and I saw us together under a starlit sky, sharing secrets while the mountains cradled our dreams. I heard her voice again. It echoed sweetly, "You are more than the fears you carry. Our love isn't a burden, it's a shield, Daniel." With her words swirling in my mind, I felt the shadows shift uneasily, almost as if they sensed my growing conviction. I could not let fear define me any longer. I closed my eyes, focusing on the warmth radiating from the distant glimmer, and in that moment, a revelation struck. The darkness fed off the secrets I held close, the things I feared, the truths I hadn't dared to acknowledge about myself. And then, the shadows swelled, shifting as a tendril reached toward the source of light. I darted sideways, seeking shelter behind a crag in the landscape of my mindscape, straining to hold onto the connection I had with her. I cannot lose her, I gasped, desperation skyrocketing within me. The environment around me pulsated, a hollow wind rushed past, whispering secrets of the mountains, carrying tales of courage and love wrapped in timeless threads. And as I stood there catching my breath, I sensed a presence alongside me. Standing amidst the shadows was another figure, cloaked in darkness but somehow warm and inviting. "You'll need to embrace her truth, Daniel," came a voice, soft yet possessive, wrapping around my resolve. "Who are you?" I demanded, wary yet intrigued. My heart pounded furiously, uncertainty swarming in my chest. "What do you want?" "I come from the depths of your own soul," the figure replied, their voice echoing with wisdom. "Like the shadows you face, I am a part of you. If you seek her, you must be willing to confront every piece of your truth. This." The pain of the unknown clawed at me fiercely, swirling into a maelstrom of confusion. But what if the truths I uncover could destroy everything? The figure stepped closer, the edges of the shadows flickering like dying embers. "Only you hold the key to your fears. Only you can decide how deep the bond runs. Should you choose to face them, you might be surprised by the power of acceptance and forgiveness." The shadows surged toward us, and I felt their grasp tightening around my legs like icy fingers freezing me in place. I was torn. If I held on to her love, could I dare also to embrace the entirety of who I was, the dark corners that lived within me? Just then, I heard its softest echo, a faint whisper mingling with the howls of darkness. It was her voice, laced with both anguish and undeniable love. "Daniel, please. Whatever it is that binds you can also set you free. Do not hide from me. I believe in all of you." In that moment, her faith ignited something primal within me, something that drew me to confront the figure that looked like my own shadow, yet seemed so much more than an echo of darkness. I took a shaky step forward, adrenaline surging through my limbs. I will face this. I won't run anymore. But as I proclaimed my resolve, the shadows shrieked a sound that echoed through my very core, choking me with despair and fear. In that crucial moment of confrontation, I realized I would have to face not just the darkness that enveloped me, but also the shadows lurking in my own heart. And just as I regained my footing, a violent tremor rocked the ground beneath me, obliterating the ground I once stood upon. A sobering truth surged upward, mingled with the swirling shadows that threatened to drag me into their depths once more. I could feel the fissures in my heart crack open. Was I truly ready to bear the weight of what I might uncover? As the darkness closed in, I heard one shockingly tender truth whispering among the chaos. Daniel, you have to choose. My breath caught in my throat. The choice lay before me like an open wound. Will I step into my truth, risking everything in the name of love, or retreat into the dying embers of the past? The tremors had subsided, but the shadows lingered like a suffocating fog, wrapping tightly around my limbs. With every heartbeat, a tempest of emotions roared within me, the familiar tug-of-war igniting new fears. The disarray of voices, some familiar, others foreign, merged together in a cacophony that drowned out my certainty. What if embracing these truths means losing her? I questioned silently, the shadows whispering along with my doubts, their icy fingers tight against my skin. But amidst the chaos, I felt the warmth of the glimmer, the light that had first beckoned me. The flicker was subtle yet unwavering, a beacon urging me to glimpse the contours of my own heart. The figure of my shadow, shaped in its delicate glow, raised its hands, as if to part the veil that cloaked the truth I feared. You cannot lose her unless you choose to deny who you are, it said, the words reverberating deep within my soul. That am I worth it? I gasped, teetering on the edge of uncertainty. How could she love a fragmented being who harbored darkness within? It felt like standing stark naked before the boundless universe, vulnerable and exposed. You are a tapestry of light and shadow, Daniel, the figure responded softly. To embrace love is to embrace all facets of yourself. Only then can you be whole. In the depths of that despair, a flicker of hope ignited within me. I longed to share my truths, to uncover every disfigured piece of the past that had sown the fragments of guilt and shame into my heart. But the ghosts of my past had always been cruel. Would she understand? Daniel, hear me. The voice of my own shadow pierced through the swirling fear, demanding my attention. You are not alone in this journey. Every painful secret can transform into a bridge, a connection if you allow it. Just take that first step. The whisper of her name echoed through the shadows, a thread of light reaching deep into the cavern of my heart. I had to push forward, not just for me, but for her. I could hear her laughter still, threading through my memories like a fragile lace. We had promised each other, bound in the innocence of dreams that lit up the night sky with unspoken belief. Had I forgotten that love can be a sanctuary and a challenge rolled into one? With newfound courage igniting my spirit, I stepped closer to the light. My arduous journey began with the painful, yet liberating act of confession. I inhaled deeply, allowing the gentle glow to seep into the fractures of my being. As I did, whispers shifted, the shadows recoiled as the warmth filled the void where I thought only sorrow resided. For each step I took, I felt the gravity of my truth, anchored in the promise of vulnerability. Her love will cradle me, I reassured myself desperately as I acknowledged the depths of my fears. I can do this. But before I could brave the edges of revelation, the ground beneath me shifted again, trembling with a disquieting resonance that rattled the walls of my heart. My breath caught as the shape of the shadows morphed, weaving intricate forms that resembled unspoken fears and buried guilt, memories I had buried so deeply that even the echoes felt foreign. Daniel, remember, the figure warned. The shadows you face are manifestations of your past, reflections of what you fear most. To defeat them, you must confront the stories they tell. With resolve stitched into my veins, I reached out to the shadows as they whirled toward me. But instead of retreating, I stood tall, my heart racing against the pulsations of dread. I need to face this, whatever it hides, I breathed. my heart entwined with a fierce desire to reclaim what was lost. The echoes of my childhood flooded back. The moments shadowed by disappointment, the cries of longing and frustration that had inadvertently shaped who I was now. I confronted the stifling air with each memory, feeling layers peel away. The fear whispered accusations in the coldest tones, yet there was a flicker of strength blossoming beneath each painful truth. Suddenly, a specific memory broke through the surface, one that froze my insidissa moment. Overflowing with emotion where I had failed her. The pain rushed through me, so raw it felt like tearing flesh from bone. How could I ever explain the weight of burden I had carried? How afraid I was of allowing anyone into the depths. Then I caught another flicker, the warmth of her laughter ricocheting against the coldness. Daniel, love is not about perfection. It's about understanding, acceptance, and lifting each other through the shadows. Her voice resonated in sync with the flickering light surrounding me. Driven by that echo, I pressed forward, clawing at the roots of my fear while battling the swirling shadows that threatened to consume me whole. Then, from the corner of my eye, I spotted something unexpected, a single figure standing outside of the maelstrom, cloaked yet glowing, radiating familiarity. That I squinted through the darkness, stunned and bewildered by the presence that stood just beyond reach. Elena? I gasped, my heart racing anew. Here she was, transcending the shadows, illuminating the path I so desperately sought. Daniel, she whispered, a radiant warmth wrapping around me like a soft embrace. I've been waiting for you to find your way back to your heart. Promise me you won't turn away this time. Confusion wove itself into the fabric of my reality. The shadows shifted again, and as the darkness surged around me with a deafening rumble, I sensed the gravity of her presence pulling me closer. Just as clarity dawned, another echo pounded through the air, a truth waiting to be revealed, a mystery fraught with the weight of both dread and hope. The ground beneath me trembled violently again, but it was her voice that calmed the storm within. You can do this, Daniel. You must choose. And as I prepared to embrace my truths, to shatter the walls I had built so high, I felt the shadows unraveling, ready to reveal the darkest secrets that awaited, lurking just beyond the reach of the light. In that anxious moment, I found myself standing at the precipice, torn between the shadows and the promise of love. The choice lay heavy in the air, and I knew that no matter the outcome, it would forever shift the course of my heart. The path forward had always been shrouded in uncertainty, like a mist lingering over the mountains at dawn. I felt the weight of my feet as I trudged through memories that clawed at my insides. Past shadows whispered, intertwined with the winds swirling around me. Daniel, they cooed, their voices familiar yet laced with pain. You can still find her. You can still turn away from this. But at that moment, something changed within me, ignited by the glow of the girl still clinging to my hand. I turned my gaze toward her, needing her unyielding strength to ground me in the present. The shadows around us swirled malevolently, hungering for my weakness, yet when I locked eyes with her, the chaos fell away, clarity cutting through the turmoil. No, I breathed, a new determination coursing through me. I need to face this. With every heartbeat, I realized the shadows were not just encroaching on my mind. They were fragments of stories I had long buried, memories I had feared were long lost. They were a part of me, threatening to consume every inch of my newfound resolve. But what if I could turn them into something else? What if I could forge a bridge between the echoes of my past and the hope surrounding me now? Daniel, she murmured softly, her voice steady against the rising tumult. Whatever you uncover, I will be here. You don't have to carry those burdens alone. In that moment, I felt the truth of her words resonate deep inside my marrow. The shadows lurked around us, but her light seemed to embolden my spirit. Together, we stood against the tide, love pulsing between us as an unwavering force. I gathered every ounce of courage within me and spun to face the shadows. I choose the truth, I declared, voice aching with sincerity. I choose us. The darkness writhed, anger swirling in response, but I felt invigorated. I had struggled against the shadows for so long, but now I understood. Turning away would never unearth the true nature of my heart. I stepped closer, inviting the chaos to reveal itself, ready to embrace the truths that lay hidden within its depths. The swirling mass drew closer, the whispers growing louder. You can't bear the weight of love's imperfection, they taunted, slithering viciously through the air. You were never meant to be whole, no. I countered, my voice strong, laced with conviction. I will not hide from you. I have learned that love is both a sanctuary and a battlefield. I refuse to shatter the good because of the fear that haunts me. And as I called upon my own resilience, the shadows began to falter, their edges fraying like smoke against sunlight, revealing glimpses of the stories intertwined with them, stories of laughter shared, havoc wrought from misunderstandings, and ultimately, of the shattering goodbye that lingered in my heart. In the distance, I sensed her presence nearby, her spirit luminous and fierce, cloaked in purpose. Daniel, you can conquer this. Feel the strength you have. Let it build the bridge out of the darkness. With her voice urging me on, I plunged deeper into my memories, both beautiful and painful, letting the bittersweet tapestry of my past wash over me. Images flickered through my mind, me father's weary gaze as he walked away, the nights I spent alone, longing for any semblance of connection. Yet, intertwined with those moments were memories of Alina's soft smile, a gentle touch, a kindness that broke through the barriers I had built high. Every moment held its lesson, I murmured, every mistake a chance to learn. But they do not have to hold me captive. And with that realization, the shadows recoiled, whimpering as if burned by the fire of acceptance pulsing through me. The darkness, once so overpowering, began to shatter like glass, a fragile ballet of light and dark spiraling around us. I turned to Elena, gratitude swelling in my heart. You were right. Love is about understanding, about standing together against the chaos and vowing to face it unflinchingly. Empowered by her unwavering spirit, I felt the shadows dissipate until they were mere whispers in the wind. Daniel, don't stop, she cried, her words echoing like the promise of dawn. Let your heart guide you to reconciliation. Face the voices that call you back. With that push, I journeyed deeper into myself, willing to confront the hidden corners of my heart. Embracing the doubts that lingered, I found clarity in the turmoil. Each shadow I faced melted away like morning fog, revealing the vibrant memories of love and connection that had shaped me. I forgive you, I whispered into the air, exhaling years of regret. The storm around me quieted, and with each pulse of healing, I felt lighter, unfettered from the weight of my past. Standing shoulder to shoulder with Elena, the strength of our union shining brighter than any lingering darkness, I knew that love was not merely a refuge, it was the act of finding courage to persevere, to grow, regardless of the pain still lingering from before. As the last remnants of shadow fell to the earth, I turned toward her, catching the glimpse of another life glistening in her eyes. I choose you, Elena. I choose not just the light but every shadow too, because it brought us here, to this moment. Her smile blossomed, a radiant array that enveloped my very being in warmth. Together, we are whole. We can embrace every memory, every truth, and forge new beginnings. And as we stepped hand in hand into the vastness beyond, where the mountains kissed the sky, I knew that our love wasn't just a path, but a journey we would navigate together, undaunted by the past, claiming a future woven with threads of resilience, hope, and undying connection. In the crisp air that filled my lungs, I felt the mountains whispering anew, cradling our voices, merging them with the rustle of leaves and the promise of tomorrow. We would carry our love into the light but never forget the shadows that helped carve its depths. And together, as we continued walking forward, I whispered softly to the winds, every shadow led me back to love.